Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Suzerain and to the glorious Republic of Swordland. I know, it's kind of been a while. My uploading schedule has not been that great. Shit's been happening. I've been busy. I'm sorry. Okay, let's get to the games. Okay. You want to do reforms, yada yada yada, that's fine. Fascists are doing some terrorism, as they usually do. Let's talk about welfare. I arrived at the meeting room for my talk with Chiara and Pascal. Before beginning, I took a moment to appreciate the view from the balcony. The mountains of Narbel were completely covered with snow. While I was mesmerized by the scenery, Pascal Bennywell walked up to me. My Minister of Health was ironically somewhat portly, having gained a few pounds since his breakthrough as a best-selling writer, but his authority on social affairs could not be questioned. Such a spectacular view. Chiara Walda, the Minister of Education, joined us in the balcony, dressed in a sky-blue pantsuit. Her preference for trousers over dresses had made her the subject of much palace gossip, but it didn't seem to bother her in the slightest. Spectacular indeed, but if you look at the opposite direction, you'll see that Seoul's decades of neglect did to the city. Most of the people living in Arbel are workers, farmers, and their wives and children. They're breaking their backs for close to no pay, and thanks to greedy corporations. All thanks to greedy corporations. Yeah, my intention is to help the working class. I am glad we see eye to eye on the issue. If you look past the view, you can see the real problem. Real problems like poverty. Pascal nodded gravely. This was a subject he knew quite a bit about himself. His best-known books were about the plight of Swordlands less fortunate, drawing from his own past growing up in squalor. Well put, Miss Walda. I don't need to tell you about my own experience with poverty, and you've been through similar hardships yourself, Mr. President. We've all gone through difficult times. True, but some lives are more difficult than others, like ours was, and still is for hundreds of thousands in Swordland. You don't have to have been born poor to sympathize with the plight of the impoverished, much as you don't have to have been born a woman to recognize Swordland's need for parity among the sexes. Parity among the sexes shouldn't be our first priority. Of course, the man says that. Looking at how many high-ranking female politicians our country has. Oh yes, we all we need is more. Did I make this joke the first time around? I'm sure I made this joke. I'm not going to repeat the more female drone pilots joke. I'm pretty sure I already made that joke. Appearances can be deceiving, Pascal. Her voice sounded bitter. Think about how Lilias Graf got her current position. I don't necessarily believe the rumors about her and Seoul, but she never could have risen so high if she didn't parrot his cause. Gloria Tori, it is an accident that the first female assembly speaker is such a staunch conservative. And then there was Alonso's habit of promoting women to prominent positions to give Swordland a progressive sheen while accomplishing nothing in reality. While women in places like Narbel are denied any opportunity to advance, the government can use a handful of female politicians from wealthy families, myself included, to pretend their only obstacle to success is their own lack of initiative. Amen. Meanwhile, those of us who don't use our clout to help powerful men stay in power are denigrated as angry spinsters. I ask you, Mr. President, does anyone care that your strategist, Mr. Gulag, doesn't have a wife? I agree with you completely. Swordland's women deserve better. I'm glad to hear that. As I was saying, isn't it about time Holsword addressed this country's real issue rather than bowing to the wishes of the hawks and fearmongers in the establishment, and diverting yet more resources to the military and law enforcement? Our welfare, healthcare, and education systems have been decaying since the recession. Swordland's poorer communities are losing hope. Hopelessness and a lack of opportunities can drive people to extreme solutions. We are seeing increased crime, domestic violence, and yes, rising inequality between men and women. Uh, those issues must be tackled from different directions. We need to engage in it holistically. I'm planning to help by using an increased budget to improve the quality of healthcare. That could prove useful, but we need to be doing a lot more. Education has similar issues. There is another subject I want to mention. I have been working on improving the rights of workers in our country and have proposed a draft bill that is currently being reviewed by our party. Mr. Clavin has already backed me and given his support. Sutherland has fallen behind most countries on this subject, and it is my responsibility to ensure this is not the case. There's always room for improvement. It's good to hear that you're pushing for it. I appreciate the kind words, Mr. President. I will not let you down. It also is a matter of life and death. Every decade we hear of some horrific accident due to the employer's disregard and for their workers' safety. So would you back the bill when it arrives on your desk, Mr. President? I mean, I have to read it first, but in principle, yeah. I would be very interested in supporting it once it's finished. I'm relieved to hear this. He smiled. I'm getting a little cold out here. Let's head inside and continue our discussion. We headed back inside. The meeting room was already prepared for state business. Small gifts for each of us had been placed on the table by the municipality. We took our seats. Ladies first. Tell me more about your plans, Kiara. And not just ladies first, just because... Yeah, let's take the second option before the first one. Because fuck you. With pleasure. Swordfish education is free, but we have a very outdated system that I want to reform. The other important issue is the lack of access to education in rural areas. Especially for young girls, your administration has the power to solve both problems. My highest priority is to get enough funding to be able to build schools in rural areas while I cleanse our education system of its nationalistic indoctrination and sexist teachings. Tell me, tell me the literacy rate of Swordland. The literacy rate of Swordland is at 80%. This is a very good indicator for future growth, but it needs to increase. It's also far lower among girls and boys. If I remember correctly, the most illiterate areas are Bergia and England. That is correct, although Lechevan skews the statistics for the Nargis region, which also has a vast number of illiterate citizens. This underlines my point about the lack of access to education. Okay, how about student per teacher ratio? Currently, there are about 5 million students, 3 million in primary education, 1 million in secondary, and 1 million in tertiary. There are 155,316 teachers. Swordland is full of young and bright minds. We should keep striving to make education available for all. I think there needs to be a change in the way of thought. We should help children to question and educate themselves. Okay, tell me more about the differences between urban and rural education. Urban areas have 3 times the number of schools per 10,000 people compared to rural areas. Rural areas also suffer from a lack of teachers. Yeah, that's not a very good ratio. Situation is worse than expected. This is one of the most important problems we face, if not the most important. Huge part of the population is forgotten in terms of welfare. Thank you, Kara. I can fill in the blanks from here. I want to hear about the healthcare system. As you wish, Mr. President. Swordland has a free healthcare system except for a few private hospitals operating under it. Most of the populace receives adequate treatment. Health issues primarily appear in the rural areas due to the lack of quality services. I'm doing my best to ensure that citizens of all ages receive the best healthcare they can. I also personally want to solve the high infant and maternal mortality problem. Okay, how many doctors and nurses are employed? You have 31,594 doctors, 73,680 nurses working for us, working for the Ministry of Health. This is a high number. What I think is, I don't want to be rude, but out of those numbers, how many are in urban and in rural areas? Good point, Kara. Pascal? The data shows that per 10,000 people in urban areas there are about 11 doctors, while in rural areas that there are only 3. Treatment time is still too high due to the low number of doctors in rural areas, which gets barely any proper coverage. How many beds per 10,000 citizens? There are 10 beds per 10,000 citizens, which is a very good number according to our comparisons with other neighbors. We see a lower number in the countries of Agnolia and Velen, but obviously we can't match Lesbia or Valksland. Agnolia and Velen are hardly countries to take as a standard, but it's good to know we aren't in a huge health crisis yet. What's life expectancy and mortality? Our life expectancy is 65 years, that's not great, and infant mortality rate is a worrying 85 per 1,000 births, while our maternal mortality is at 90 per 1,000. Be assured that we are doing everything we can to save mothers, to save mothers and their newborn. Yeah, 10%, almost a 10% mortality rate is not good. Those numbers are saddening indeed. I agree, we must do everything we can. We are working very hard on improving the quality of services. Thank you, Pascal. Your in-depth briefing is much appreciated. I believe that is everything. Kara stood up and moved toward the window. She took a deep breath. What's that? What is it, Kara? Look at this impoverished city. The streets full of potholes, the hospital barely functioning, the school half open. This is not just about Sol or even Alfonso failing. This decay in Swordlands' forgotten regions has been going for many decades due to structural corruption, which is fueled by capitalism. Yes. Tug Sol did more for this country, yada yada yada. Nope. Nope. Change trends. We are here to change that trend and to provide for the people. Yeah. That remains to be seen. I'm working on the new education system and your support would be welcome. Kara sat back down and sighed. One way or another we need to transform. Greed and unchecked capitalism will not magically provide for the people. Tell me more about your plans. My plans require an increase in the government budget. I aim to solve the problems we highlighted with the allocated money. By building schools in these less fortunate rural areas, and through fundamental changes to the education system, I will unlock the potential of all our children, boys and girls alike. We said we were going to improve education. We will deliver on this. This brings hope to the table, which needs to be followed by action. There is much to be done, and if we are given the budget, there will be opportunities to implement policies that push education to the next level. Wouldn't the promotion of private education help create additional funds? The thing is, it might actually improve. It might actually help in the short term, but then you create disparity in the education which will vastly hurt in the long term. Yes, but at what cost? I'm not a supporter of the private sector in education, because at the end of the day, they are focused on profits first. Also that goes without saying. What are you working towards, Pascal? I personally want to improve the low quality of healthcare in the rural areas, so I created draft plans to increase the salary of doctors and to upgrade the equipment of the hospitals. I can do more with an increased budget. Additionally, a privatization plan to promote private investments in the healthcare system could allocate extra funds. No. Absolutely not. Quality of healthcare in less fortunate areas matters more. Exactly. It would directly diminish the depressingly high infant and mortality situation. Besides, the push would also have economic benefits. That's not what I meant. Shit. I do hope to create a competition and increase the quality of healthcare with the privatization effort. No, we are not privatizing. The private healthcare system would increase the price of treatment and make access worse for the average citizen. Besides, I believe we have decided to promote a more planned economy. My expectation from our government is that we understand and focus on the needs of the people. Uh, Significant issues? Nope. No, we are elected representatives of our people and will prioritize their needs. That's reassuring to hear. Don't want to sound cynical, but almost all governments keep making the same promises. We must show we are different through our actions. Did we cover all the necessary subjects? I wish to raise my concerns about your scheduled meeting with the GASOM chairman and former president, Mr. Alfonso. There are significant considerations regarding the Narbel workforce on the broader community of GASOM blue collar employees. This could be a strategic juncture to secure a triumph for the labor force. While I don't intend to overstep, I can't refrain from commenting on the labor predicaments experienced by workers in GASOM positions. Nevertheless, it's worth acknowledging that the corporation contributes substantially to job creation in regions struggling with poverty. Persuading the chairman to make concessions might prove to be a formidable task. Uh, Meeting with Alfonso could be challenging. Imperative is to directly address capital owners. Yeah, our imperative is to directly address capital owners in order to champion the welfare of Sorger's workers. I'm divided between this and four, but yeah, let's go full radical. I delved extensively into this topic in one of my books. Confrontation, if not handled prudently, could potentially exacerbate the challenges faced by workers. The matter regarding laborers is close to my heart. I would personally be grateful if you would be able to resolve the concerns raised by Katarina Horton and other laborers. Who be this? Labor leader, spokeswoman of the union. There's only one union? I mean, one big union, yes, awesome. But I'm used to there being many unions. Anyways, it would be difficult to imagine someone like Alfonso obsessed with his corporation give benefits to workers without him personally gaining from it. In this world, nothing's truly free. Yeah, nothing's truly free. I wouldn't anticipate anything else, anything less. You must be cautious about these seemingly generous offers. Beneath the surface, they usually come with hidden costs that further tip the scales in favor of the privileged few. Despite the potential divergence in interests, the door for dialogue among differing sides should always remain open. It's important that ideology doesn't obscure our capacity to bring about tangible, effective transformation. Engage in dialogue. I've never given up in the face of adversity, especially when dealing with those who cling to power. We shall keep you no longer. Thank you both for the discussion. I do hope you won't repeat the same mistake again. Have a good day, Mr. President. The ministers left, and I prepared to leave for other official business in the city. The agenda for the next few days was busy. It also included a meeting with Minister Gus Manger and former President Alfonso at the Gazon branch office. As I made my way out, the weather was noticeably cold, but it didn't keep a group of USP supporters from coming out to cheer us on the streets. By looking at the citizens' attire, it was easy to understand the current state of Narbo. Some people were wearing clothes a few sizes too large, some kids did not even have shoes, yet there was hope in their eyes. They were excited to see their president in their city. Well, we gotta do something about not being able to afford clothes. That is not good. Oh, the fascist lost his head. Mine disaster. Not good. Economy continues going downhill. Uh, okay, I didn't veto it. Okay, just failed on the reform. The fascists don't want to reform. That to be expected. Workers' rights bills near completion. Yep. Once I can read it, I'll sign it. Yep. Contana is about to let Valgsland invade Agnolia. Occasion military bases everywhere. Everything is fine. Okay, there's a strike at the Gazon plant. After a series of intense meetings with Chiara and Pascal, I decided to take some much-needed rest to recharge. Lupin and Petter were laboring tirelessly in the capital, uniting democratically leaning reformers for the crucial task of drafting a new constitution. Meanwhile, Gus Manger had invited me to visit the Gazom headquarters in Arbol. It was situated in Ornabel, a neighborhood on the city outskirts. Next to it was the Damanoi Gas Reserve, a prominent natural gas source consisting of 4 large fields. As our motorcade made its way through the Ornobel district, I noted the neighborhood's state of disrepair. The roads were bumpy and marked by potholes, while the buildings surrounded us appeared run down and dilapidated. The community had apparently endured a prolonged period of neglect. We came to a halt at the entrance gates of the facility. A sizable mural depicting the Gazom logo had been painted on the nearby wall. Adjacent to the mural, a group of individuals wearing blue work vests had assembled, holding what looked like protest signs. Serge skillfully parked the car, bringing our journey to a smooth and elegant conclusion. Gus greeted us warmly as we stepped out of the vehicle. Good day, President Rain. Good day, President Rain. Welcome to Gazom's Narble operations. I trust Ministers Valda and Benuel didn't overwhelm you with their demands. Good to see you, Gus. I want to talk to you about... Yeah, let's completely ignore his fucking side comment. I want to talk to you about how we can do to help the development here. Perfect, that's exactly what I hope to accomplish during today's discussions. My job is to improve the condition of places like these. Mr. President, I've been brainstorming a little something. The Gruni Rural Investment Plan, I reckon. It's got the potential to breathe new life into our rural communities out in Gruni. We could consider a few things. For starters, we could give the farming businesses a boost with some subsidies, or we could steer towards modernizing existing farms with machinery and tech. Or here's another thought. We could pour resources into developing crop breeds tailor-made for Gruni conditions. If it works out, we could roll this out across Swordland. I think mechanizing is probably the smartest option right now. This is a... This is something we need to do very carefully and more of a long-term plan. He kept talking as he guided me into the Gazon building. Mr. President, I get the appeal that of that green bill that's been making the rounds at the Assembly. Uh, but I'm telling you, if we put the brakes on that and funnel these funds into the Rooney plan instead, we could make some real strides without spooking any potential investors. It's a tough call, Gus. I need to weigh the environmental implications and the economic benefits. That's all I'm asking for, Mr. President. Just give this plan a fair shake. Our talk was interrupted by a noise coming from outside the building. We looked out the nearest window. A sleek helicopter was cutting through the sky, sunlight light glinting of its polished surface as it's descending towards us. Motherfucker, I'm the president and I don't even have a helicopter. On it was our next appointment, Ewald Alfonso. Extravagant show of wealth, isn't it? Hardly seems necessary. It's Alfonso's style, Mr. President. He's always enjoyed his toys. Before we meet him, I wanted to bring up one more piece of assembly business. This workers' rights bill. Look, I'm all for giving hard-working folks what they deserve, but isn't it a bit hasty to push this while we're still stuck in a recession? No. No, recession is exactly when you need to put it. People need a safety net in the recession more than anywhere else. The way I see it, short-term wins might end up costing us big time in the long term. Yeah, and if you sacrifice workers' rights, in order to appease companies in the middle of a recession, they're just going to take advantage of it and drive down worker conditions in general. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but isn't it high time we put people before profits? I see where you're coming from, Mr. President, but a prosperous economy helps everyone. Ah, yes, the rising tide lifts all boats unless yours has a massive hole in it. The workers included. If we're all sinking, nobody's winning. Yeah, no, that's not the one. Yeah. A rising tide does lift all boats, but not all motherfuckers can afford a boat. Please come this way. Ewald and I have some exciting news to share with you. I have faith that you won't leave us hanging. New offers. The discussions were lively during the highway contract. I'm here because something needs to be done about Narbel's living standards. Of course, that's going to play a big role in our discussion. We do have to be delicate with Gazom, though. A corporation this big is like a house of cards. You make one wrong move and the whole thing falls apart. Not the way this jeopardizes Gazom. Obviously, destroying the company is not. I mean, yeah, sometimes we must destroy our rotten foundations to build something better. Isn't that paraphrasing Malyanev? Is it? I don't know. Keep in mind we only have a single term to work with. Do we? And none of the average citizens here care about anything other than direct support. He pushed open a door. We walked through yet another hallway, seemingly in the direction we just come from. Like a maze, isn't it? That's Canali architecture for you. Hallways were lined with doors, glass panels, and in them revealed workers in suits and ties, many of foreign origin, busy in their pristine offices. A stark contrast to the blue-collar workers outside working with machinery, transportation, and maintenance. White-collar workers seem to be having it good here, while the majority are working out in the cold. The equipment provided is high standard. I've seen it for myself. Besides, there will always be differences between workers. Ah, here's the elevator. Ewald ought to be up there already. Here's a separate entrance by the helipad. There's a separate entrance by the helipad. We stepped into the elevator, Gus punched the code, and we began our ascent. Just remember, Alfonso's our friend. We've got the foundation for a great deal. The doors opened. Here we are, Ewald, my friend. While Alfonso stood up from his chair, he had on a perfectly tailored suit that he wore as casually as pajamas. Yes, you old devil. It takes one to know, and as promised, I've brought our guest of honor. President Rain, I hope you enjoyed seeing our facilities here. The facilities appear to be in much better shape than the city around them. I should have seen Narvel before Gazam came here. The jobs it generated have had lasting positive effect. It's true, many things here could be a lot worse. Also be a lot better. Please have a seat. Let's talk. We sat down. Some snacks and drinks were served. Multiple Gazam yearly financial reports were scattered on the table between us. It's been a while, Mr. Rain. Let me catch you up on my activities since I left office. I ventured to Xena, immersing myself in its vibrant cultures. Then traversed the captivating landscapes of the Anrakan Peninsula, and finally reunited with old acquaintances in Kyo. Along the way, I had the privilege of encountering remarkable individuals who have made significant contributions to their respective fields. My experiences prompted deep reflection on the essence of life. For fuck's sake, what a cunt. I came out of it all with two words resonating in my head: reputation and legacy. Of course. All these motherfucking cunts think about is their legacy. These two pillars embody the lasting impact we have behind, and the way we are remembered by others. With a cup of coffee in hand, he strolled over to the window, his gaze drawn to the expansive gas fields stretching before him. Towering mountains provided a majestic backdrop. Reputation and legacy are indeed powerful forces. His own reputation is rooted on capitalist framework. Okay, let's try to be a little bit more diplomatic. While reputation and legacy hold significance, we should also remember that life's true essence lies in the present moment. I mean, no, I think let's go with the meaningful contribution angle. Let's try to convince him that he can build his legacy by doing socialism. Well, it's Alfonso. He'll never do socialism, but maybe like making a little bit less obscene amounts of money. The pursuit of reputation and legacy is an intrinsic part of the human experience. We yearn to be remembered and to make a meaningful contribution. He gazed out for a moment longer as he contemplated what I'd said, then turned back to us. I've been thinking about my own legacy and reputation, and I refuse to be remembered as a failed reformer. I put so many years of my life into this corporation, and then I left it all behind and devoted myself to serving the people of Swordland. And serve you did, Swordland would be much worse off without you. I mean, yeah, Gazam continues to thrive, but you sucked as a president, but you weren't left with nothing. Gazam still operates, yes. Thrives is perhaps an exaggeration. That's why Mr. Manger and I have diligently exploring alternate solutions. The latest figures show that Gazam will have to either decrease staff and operations by 40% in 1 year, or take on a crushing amount of debt. This is why we have decided to reach out to foreign investors. Local ownership. Okay, let's not go there. Just let's talk about the Rizia in the room. Foreign investors such as the Kingdom of Rizia, you mean? Kingdom of Rizia certainly has valuable expertise and resources in the energy sector. We will carefully consider their investment proposal and assess how it aligns with our long-term goals for Gazom. I appreciate you coming through, Gus. Getting Rizia interested in another investment is a major feat. We've got an amazing opportunity here. The demand for gas is steadily increasing from both international partners and the storage state. All we have to do is ensure a consistent supply. The trouble is that right now some of our fields are operating at only half their capacity due to resource limitations. But we have significant potential for expansion, including two new fields that haven't even been tapped. With the right amount of investment, we can expand resource extraction, effectively fulfilling rising demand and ensure long-term stability and profitability. There is the aforementioned interest from Rizia, but the investment could also come from Swordland itself. Okay, let's not attack him. We want this to be beneficial to us. Uh, yes, if your analysis is correct, any investment will also make returns and secure future gas. Indeed, this still has potential to bolster both Gazom and Sorlin. Together we can create an historic opportunity. Why settle for being in the top 10 energy exporters when we have the potential to compete with Arcadia and United Contana? Mr. Alfonso has neglected to mention that this is not an either-or proposition. Sorlin can invest alongside Rizia. Yeah, investing together with Rizzi could be better than just letting them purchase as much as they can. Co-investing would reduce Sorlin's contribution while allowing the nation to still have a stake on this for strategic purposes. If the treasury situation is a concern, this path could be the most optimal. The sound of sirens briefly distracted us, though through the window we saw police cars driving down the street adjacent to the Gazom zone. We redirected our attention to the meeting. Ewald looked at me. Mr. Rain, the foundation of a robust partnership is right here. It's high time we shift our focus towards sealing this deal. If we raise a minority investment, it would allow us to invest in further resource excavations in the gas fields and turn the company back to significant profitability. By significant, I mean that our projections show that Gazom would be able to cover 80% of Swordlands' gas needs in 3 years, and we would achieve profits 4 times the value of our investment. I mean, we do need the money, and having at least some state control of strategic resources is definitely an important objective. If you were to invest in Gazom, if you are to invest in Gazom, I want to make sure that the company is also committed to improving the socioeconomic conditions in Narvel. I wholeheartedly agree. The well-being of Narvel citizens is a priority for Gazom. With this investment, we could certainly allocate some funds to improve the local infrastructure and create more jobs. Mr. President, I've been thinking, what if we tie Gazom's growth to Narvel's development? Get the company to invest in the community, that way everybody wins. It's an interesting proposition. I would like to hear specifics of how you plan on doing that. Mr. President, your administration's focus on a planned economy resonates with our strategic vision for Gazom. Does it now? How exactly? Now I don't fucking trust you. I didn't trust you to begin with. Now I'm suspicious. Government investment in our company aligns perfectly with this approach. It's about strengthening Sorlin's economy and becoming self-sufficient in energy production. I see potential Gazom to drive Sorlin's energy independence, but we need to make sure this is a sustainable solution. You bring up a valid point. We're dedicated to responsible resource extraction, and we have allocated a portion of the proposed investment to environmental mitigation measures. Is it enough, though? Probably not. Sustainability is a key part of our strategy. Couldn't agree more, Mr. President. We've got to keep the big picture in mind, and that includes our environment. I trust Ewald and his team to handle this responsibly. If the Swedish government chooses to invest, it would gain a voice in the broader company decisions, even as a minority stakeholder. That is true. The government could either liquidate its shares at a future date or continue to reap the long-term profits. I mean, worst case, yeah, but like, definitely gonna invest because worst case scenario, we get a vote in the government gets a vote in company decisions. A beneficial arrangement for all parties. Ewald walked back over to the window. He stood there silhouetted against the vast expanse of the gas fields. After a moment, he turned back to face us. His gaze was steady and the expectation clear in his eyes. The time had come to make a decision. Well, Mr. President, will Gazom and Swordland make history or not? Uh, fuck. Can't really justify spending two budget. Because I'm gonna need it for the for everything else. So we'll co-invest with Rizia, we'll share costs and stakes. Joint investment, a wise choice. It ensures steady funds for Gazon. I like the way you think, Mr. President. Sharing the costs with Rizia reduces our risk and strengthens our ties. It's a smart move. Before we dive into the celebrations, I've allocated time during this meeting for President Rain to discuss any concerns regarding Gazom's treatment of its workers and its effects on Narwhal. Thank you, Gus. That's very considerate of you. Labor Union, along with the Communist Party of Sorland, has rallied substantial support from Gazom's workers in Narwhal, advocating for improved local conditions. Alfonso nodded and looked at me. Yeah, our duty. Uh, our duty is to listen and take action. That's sort of the mandate created to us by the public. While sometimes people may not always recognize what's in their best interest. Do you have a proposal in mind, Mr. President? Charities? Really? Fuck off. The wages of Gazom blue-collar workers need to be increased. They are the backbone of your operation. I agree that we must do more for workers. Their welfare is a priority for Gazom. That's what I said. I will personally ensure that we review their salaries and work towards providing them with competitive compensation. Okay, that's more in line with what I said, but that's still not committing to doing anything. Yeah, promises are a start, well, but people need actions, not words. I look forward to seeing concrete changes. Well, your personal commitment to these initiatives speaks volumes. This could be a turning point for Gazom and for Narvel. Indeed, Mr. President, we're committed to. Suddenly, the meeting was interrupted. The quiet murmur of a conversation from outside the room grew louder, followed by the sound of hurried footsteps. A member of the private security team entered the room, his face taut with urgency. He approached Alfonso and neared him and leaned him to whisper something in his ear. Ewald nodded solemnly, his gaze meeting mine with a serious intensity. Gentlemen, it seems we have an unexpected situation outside. Some protesters from the labor union have blocked the main vehicular exits. Katarina Houghton and Dennis Staller seem to be leading the group. It'll be difficult to leave the way they came without causing trouble. So all they're doing is blocking the road and you're panicking about it? It seems a little bit overblown. Also, you have a helicopter you can't. Well, that's a pickle. What's our move, Elwood? I have a helicopter ready. We can leave undetected and avoid the chaos and potential danger. Fuck that, I'm going down. And I'm speaking to the people. I think we should face the crowd head on. This is your prerogative, Mr. President. Following the violent events of late, I heavily recommend against facing any crowd. Mr. President, I advise you to leave via helicopter just in case. I can stay back and update the crowd on the discussions today. Serge Volkner rushed in. Mr. President, I have discussed the situation with the Presidential Guard and the police security. They are advising us not to go the way we came in. Fuck that. More police are on the way. You must make a decision, Mr. President. Everyone waited. The tense silence of the room stood in stark contrast to the buzz of the ever-growing crowd outside. I said I was going down. Okay, I guess that is gonna be it for this episode. It's been a bit of a long one, so you're gonna see my decision on the next one. Thank you all so very much for watching. As always, I have been Pope, and I will see you all next time.